Hi everyone, my name's Tori Brokenshire. I am an assemblage artist. I mainly teach and create figurative assemblage sculpture, but today we're going to make this modified Starbook journal. It is super easy to make, it's inexpensive, and it doesn't take a lot of time or materials or even tools. It's a real fun one and it's really satisfying to have when you're done. So the materials we'll start with is the base. This base is actually an end cap for ductwork for a furnace. And I poke a 1/4 inch hole in it with either a drill press or a drill and get that out of the way. We also need a 1/4 inch piece of all thread. All thread is just exactly what it says it is. It's threaded for the full length of the piece. We need about 8 inches. It comes, I think the shortest piece you can get is 12. So you'll need to cut it. When you cut all thread, put a nut on the thread a nut on it first, and this will help immensely, believe me. You put the nut on, then you can use a hacksaw. It's really easy to cut through. You make your cut. When you make your cut, there are little burrs and it distorts the end of the threading there. But if you have this nut on, when you take it off, it cleans the burrs off and it kind of reforms that threading, so then you can take them on and put more off, or put more on, and it's easy to do. We will also need a few parts to put everything together. We need some, I think 4 washers and nuts, and we need 16 paper clips to put all of our paper together. That's it for the hard materials. The paper we use is really easy. It's just 12 sheets of cardstock. I use 3 different colors: a dark, a medium, and a light or white. The dark is in the back, medium's in the middle, the light or white is the page that you're going to be journaling on. The white is the one that's going to be taking all the abuse. So I like to use watercolor paper, or this happens to be acrylic out of a notepad for acrylic painting. It is 110 pound and it can take writing, gluing, stamping, all the things you do when you make a journal page. In this one, I actually used a pre-printed piece of cardstock, and it cut out a lot of time. It gives it a lot of depth really fast if you're in a hurry and you want to get something done. I always put some paint and some stamps, and I change it up a bit for myself, but that's kind of a fun thing to use instead of just starting with the blank white. We will also need some tissue paper to cover the base with. This is super easy to do, and I won't even show you how to do it because it is so easy. You're just going to take 3 parts Elmer glue to 1 part water, mix that up, paint it on here, put the tissue on, brush it down with your brush, put another piece on, add more, brush it down, and before long the whole thing is going to be covered, and you will have a finished base. Don't forget to poke the hole out. I put a little bit of whitewash over the brighter paper so it kind of will match my other pages I'm using. Okay, we're going to now get the paper ready for our journal. And we have our 12 sheets of 8.5 by 11. We need to cut them down to size. The furthest back one in the star, the darkest one, the measurement on that is 5.5 by 7.5. The next one is 5.5 by 6.5, and the front one is 5.5 by 6. With the 8.5 by 11, you simply have to just cut it in half. That will give us our 5.5. I like to use a self-healing mat, the see-through measuring grid, and a razor, what do they call this thing? Rotary cutter. Sorry about that. Okay, so our first cut, we have 2 pieces. That's our 5.5, the height. And now I need to make it 7.5. So I need to take 1 inch off. Just as easy as that. I will do that, continue doing that on all of my papers. I will cut them down, the green 7.5, the yellow 6.5, and the white 6, until I have all my paper cut. Okay, the white I'm going to leave flat until I have a chance to paint it and decorate it a little bit. The other pieces I'm going to fold in half, match them up. I like to get them nice and square, and I use a bone folder to get a nice tight crisp edge on it. There we go. I'll go and I will do all of my pages the same way. Get them all done. These guys will nestle right inside of each other. And we'll put them together. Pretty easy. Now that we have our paper all cut and folded, ready to go, it's time to put a little color on the white sheets. I am going to do a super fast job getting some color on here. This is fun. It's going to bend up a little like that as soon as it gets wet, but it will flatten right out. I don't have the patience, hardly ever, to wait for paint to dry, so I would use a hair dryer or just, you know, go at it with it being wet. Okay. A little more color. Do all 8 of your pages at once. Now that'll get muddy. I should have waited for that one to get dry. But we'll just leave that like that. Okay. That's good for now. That'll have to dry for a second, and then we could put a few more layers on. But you see how you do that. You know how to do that. Just layer some paint on, let it dry, put some more on until you get the effect you want. Okay, the paint is dry. I've made a few more layers. I stenciled a few letters on it, and then I took a whitewash and muted it a bit. I have my 8 pieces finished, and I will start putting them together with the colored paper that we already made. We're going to take the dark one, the medium one, and the not so white one now, and line up the edges and use those paper clips to put them together. If you would like to do all your journaling and get everything finished and then put it together, that would be fine. I have a problem with figuring out what I want to journal, so I want to look at it for a little bit while I figure that part out. I have one put together here. I'm going to take that off. And it's just as simple as this. You're just going to put all your pages back to back until you have them all put together, going around the circle. And that's what you'll end up with. So I'll put this together and be right back. I put all the pages together. I used the paper clips, matched up all the ends. I have, I guess they would be called signatures. There's 8 signatures. As I was putting the clips on them, I thought, wow, that'd look really neat if I put it on my sewing machine and sewed them down. So you can see when I hold it up how it gets its name, Starbook. Now we're going to put together the hardware. We'll have the washer, the all thread in. We're going to put another washer and the nut. Tighten them up. Now at this point, you can choose to leave the book and just set it on the base like this. Or you can take your signatures and actually sew them, take them apart, sew the back one to the all thread. That's one way of doing it. I'm going to put this back together. It'd be really easy now. If I had sewn them, I wouldn't be able to just let it sit and look at it and decide what I'm going to do as far as journaling, you know, what I want it to do. So the last thing I need to do is find a finial that would look nice on this. I looked around in my stash and I found this thing. It is like maybe a rug hooking or some sort of implement. I pulled out the sewing part of it, and lucky me, that is a 1/4 inch hole already drilled in it. This simply just fits on top, and my Starbook is finished. If I want to make it a little bit tighter, I can squeeze these white pages together and that will tighten the star a little bit. But that's it. A modified assemblage Starbook. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy making one for yourself. Bye.